Well, hello, I'm Samreen and I'm an intuitive healer. I work with mainly the body code as a healing modality, and I'm a Reiki healer. I came to this path, how many people do, through my own healing journey, but also through a point in my life in which I was wanting to reflect back everything I had learned around healing. And what about you, Sharon?
Yes, yeah, me too. I've always been drawn to something else, shall we say? To crystals, to another energy, and that's how I've just throughout my life and the experiences that I've been through, been able to understand, I suppose, the paths a bit better and the directions that I've taken, and been able to adjust from that as well. And discovered, being a therapist, how much more you can help to empower people, to realise that they can help themselves, and heal themselves through a continual day-to-day journey throughout the life and experiences that they're on.
Mm.
And it's
And we
it's an
met.
honour. Yeah.
It is an honor, absolutely, and it's with this honor that we want to create this podcast. We met on our own spiritual counseling course, our own training as spiritual counselors, and there was an instant connection. And I think it's because we were doing some sort of activity at the time around looking at different parts of ourselves, and you had led me through this masculine and feminine side, and it was so powerful and it was so incredible that we sort of after that flowed into conversations where I would often bring to you, oh, I'm noticing this with my clients, or this is happening, and then you would kind of create that and open that space into the collective. And there's such incredible conversations, and we really hope to share that with people today. And the idea here is to just create a space for reflection, to just think about what's happening within and what's happening around. And we will always hold an energetic theme, something that we're noticing, and we'll take that theme and then open that outwards. And the theme that we're looking at today is that around something that we've noticed is people having to go back to old wounds with new eyes and revisit that and go into healing again around those wounds, but in order for a new shift to happen.
Yes, yeah, very much so at the moment, absolutely. And just to recap, obviously, on when we met too, the connection that we had was, I could see that the pure love that surrounds you and everything that you do and that you want to give and share with the world in your service. So it's an honour that you've asked me to do this as well. So thank you.
And I have to kind of extend that compliment and say, Sharon, your ability to guide and your ability as a guide and connect with the wider consciousness is probably nothing like I've experienced and seen before. So if we can get glimpses of any of that today, it would be amazing. And so saying that, I wanted to talk about what I'm noticing at the moment with clients, and what I'm noticing even within myself, something that is like the groundwork of what we're going to go into today. And like I said, that's about the revisiting of old wounds. And and revisiting of old wounds and not resisting that. It's not resisting the change.
It is. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
And so some of the things that I've had with quite a few clients that have been coming to me at the moment, and many of them are quite high vibrational in that they have already done a lot of deep inner work on themselves. And they would look back and say, well, I've been working on myself for 20, 30 years. I mean, of course, there are people who are new to this way of healing, this way of releasing old wounds. But for some of them, they've already done that journey and they've come to me. Maybe they've heard about me from someone, maybe they're just intrigued, or there's a deeper calling for inner work. And what we found while we're doing the work, doing the release, is that they're going back to such old wounds. And we're talking about things that could be like a mother wound or a father wound, or things that go back to, childhood, that they've had to go back and revisit and start releasing again over. And what's surfaced while these releases are happening are old memories, are old things that they've almost forgotten had ever happened and are coming back to them in order to be released. And one of the things that I've noticed that I've been really sort of been so impressed with and been humbled by is that there's been no ego involved in it. It's been a sort of understanding that, okay, and for some of these people, they're healers themselves, or they're therapists, or they work as coaches, they work in transformational spaces. They've just said, okay, I need to go back and I need to see this again and I need to revisit and I need to release in order for them to go back into new shifts. And this has been quite a theme that's been there. And I wanted to bring that into this space today. I wanted to think about it as a reflective space, that when we do have to go back and revisit and release in order to accept the next shift that's coming, and that shift is always a positive shift, but we don't know how long that piece of work is.
Absolutely, yes. And it can be really not confusing, but also one of the biggest questions in your mind is, well, why? Why is it coming back around again now? What have I, what didn't I do? What have I missed? But it's very important to remember at the moment, you've done what you've needed to do up until this point. You've got to this point because you were meant to, and the healing and the releasing and the transition in your journey and in your energy and the expansion in your personal expansion has matched the expansion of not just the planet but the universe. So remember, you are a part of the universe, and as you start to change as the universe is changing, this within you is changing too. So at the moment, we have never been through, the universe has never been through what it's going through now. Some of you may have heard about 3i Atlas, the energy that was transitioning. It's still in the universe at the moment, but transitioned and came very close to Earth. And it's allowing us, not just as planet, but the whole universe, all of the planets within our solar system, to adjust and change, to clear patterning, to start anew, to start afresh. And to do that, to go back to our beginning, to really begin again, which is what we are, and we are in the process of doing, we have to clear everything in the past. So we can be looking at essentially our journey is changing and has changed and is covered, and what we've been in the transition of, from what I've heard to be at least the last 300 years. So our generation as humans are in the process and have been in this process of change for at least the last 300 years, and been making ready for this. And for us, in more of our lifetime, since about 2008 to 2012, it's been more of a shift. But we are in it now. We have come out of the wood snake and shedded those old skins, and that is what we're still kind of just in that process of. We're now in the year of the horse, the fire horse. So we take all of those elements and the energy and the creativeness of fire and what that means, but it also means to burn away from the old. And fire, you have the passion and the energy and the strength of a fire is what that creates, but you also burn away the old. So it's not necessarily a quick thing either. It's not like an overnight thing. You think, right, I've done that, let's move on, I'm ready. It will be a continual journey as our energies adjust and change with the universal energies that are changing as well. And I'm sure many people will be seeing this around the world too, with the global events that are happening as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think that's it, isn't it? It's our shifts are also our inner shifts, our internal shifts are also connected to the bigger events that are going on. And you can see this connection that's happening. But I think when you talk about that shedding and that moving into action, what really strikes me is how brave people have to be. They have to choose bravery over comfort. And I think it's those of us that step forward in order to shed is where we have to sit in discomfort for a bit. And we both know this from personal experience as well, that we have to sit in that discomfort in order for those releases to happen. And that involves putting a kind of magnifying glass on spaces that you think, but that's been dealt with. And I think for some people, it's been as small as like and I don't mean this as small, I mean as accessible as clearing spaces around you. Like, I'm going to clear anything that makes me feel that creates an unease in me. I'm going to go into my wardrobe and, clear clothes that I now associate with part of myself that no longer exists. It's
Absolutely.
moving. Right, isn't it? And it's moving around those spaces where you're actually then sitting within yourself, and the shedding has happened, where finally you look at yourself and it's almost like you emerge differently, don't you? Because if we don't release some of that, then you do take it into the energy of the fire horse, like you said, and you don't want that to move even quicker. You want the snake forces you to slow down.
Absolutely. You want to shed that skin completely. You don't want to be dragging half of it with you. You want to do that. And it's a perfect thing to do, to the practicalities of bringing it into your day-to-day life. Say, clearing your wardrobe, cleaning out the car, anything,
Yeah.
anything that's in your environment, your bedroom especially. For a lot of people keep electronics. And I'm going to reinforce this as something I will be continuing to knock with, is that electronics in their bedrooms as well. It really does impact on your frequency, especially at night. And energetically, that is a fantastic time, is the time as well for you to help you clear and to cleanse and to re-energize and recharge, and for your connection, for any downloads or anything like that to happen. So any other interference of any kind of electromagnetic energy is going to interfere with that. So try to make, especially the bedroom, as clean and as clear as possible as you can. And your clothes are very important to do that as well. Anything old, anything that you think about, what that object or piece of clothing, jumper for example, whatever it is, what does that mean to you? What does it, where does it come from? And see how you feel, as you
Mm,
said, when you're wearing jewelry, everything, anything in your environment. You can go through the house and have a good clear,
mm,
because you're not just creating a physical space, you're creating an energetic space, and new energy can't come in fully and be absorbed fully unless that space is clear and
mm,
ready for it and
mm.
ready to do it. So,
Yeah.
and that frustration in you, thinking, why am I here? You have to sit with that and think, right, okay, what can I do about it? I can clear my field. I can clean, even if it's just a cleaning of the house. You're cleaning,
Mm,
you're changing the energy, you're changing the frequency of your environment. And you can do affirmations. You can intentionally say, I wish for this space to be cleared, and I'm willing for the new to come in. But before you do that, make sure you make that effort to clear that space first, because otherwise what's coming
mm.
in, you're going to be dragging with you.
I think that point that you made about, in order for new energy to come in, old energy needs to go, I think is really key. And I think if you do that purposefully, and that intention is when you're clearing, then you're more likely to clear which you and feel what doesn't seem right for you. But I think the
Absolutely.
point that you made about the bedroom being a space, because that's where we sleep and that's where we like regenerate at night. We have our new ideas and we allow our minds to let go or sift through. I have noticed that with some clients that intense dreaming has increased, and the dreams are much more vivid. There's a lot more old memories coming up in the dream, and paying attention to dreams is really important. But I really like the point that you're making, that kind of clear that energetic space around you so those dreams can come through in the way that they're meant to for you. Because even if during this time you're being visited by um, people come popping up in your dreams where you're like, that's weird. Why have I dreamt of that person? Well, perhaps there's a sort of energetic clearing around there. Perhaps there's a memory associated with them. Maybe there's something you still have associated with that person that needs to go as well. So you can actually follow through the labyrinth of that dream in some ways in order to understand, but you have to clear the space around you. Now, I know you're really good at this, but there are stones you can put under your pillow to help with that energetic connection.
There are, absolutely, yes, yeah, and selenite is one of them. Beautiful white crystal. It's friable, so don't get it wet. But you can get lovely shaped palm stone ones that lay flat under the pillow, so it's not like Princess and the Pea style where you're, it can be a bit uncomfortable. But you can pop them under your pillow as well. Amethyst is always a great one to have around because it transmutes negative into positive, so that's a great one and really does help with sleep. And it helps to, you're setting that intention, you're setting your intention for your connection as well to come through, and to have a guide. If you have questions that you want to ask, you can ask them before you go to sleep and say, can you tell me my next step, please? I'm ready and willing to hear my next step. And to have that intention that you have done a bit of work, you've cleansed your area, you've made that intention, and you are willing and ready to accept your next step. But you have to say, it's important, you have to clear those extra bits that have been in the past. And if they are repetitive dreams that are coming up, you get these repetitive questions or repetitive dreams that are trying to get your attention, sit with it. Like we said, sit with it, and just try not to be frustrated. We are meant to feel every emotion that there is. So if we feel, if a particular person comes back and you think, am I meant to see them again? It's asking you and acknowledging you, the emotions, those feelings. Where is it resonating in your body? What does it bring up? If you journal, write it down, and then say to yourself, you're ready to release it. You're ready to let that go, and willingly do that. And even create something where you go outside and say, I willingly release. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but if you do it outside, you're connecting with the earth, you're grounded, you're connected, your intention is there and it's clear, and it can happen incredibly quickly. To do that, you can even use flint, because you're ready to cut those connections and cut those cords. But you don't have to physically have a piece of flint. I mean, obviously it's very common in Britain, so you can use that to imaginally hold it in your hand and see this gold thread between you, if it was another person, or a thought process, or a behavioral pattern, or anything that you feel is drawing you back, an addiction, anything, that you, between the golden thread from your solar plexus to them or the situation, and you cut it, but you cut it with love. You cut it with love, and you repeat it 3 times. And that sets an intention, and that reinforces it. And it can be a pattern, not to keep, simple stuff. We talk about clearing our space, not be aware of what you refill it with. Do I say, yes, I clear my clothes, then I can go out and buy a load more and just refill it with new clothes, in that respect. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about creating space, feel that space, and then, yes, replace it with something that is more you, more in alignment with you.
It's actually a fantastic opportunity, because it gives you the opportunity to create the energetic footprint or blueprint around you. What's the energetic space around you that's being created? And it really is in itself this wonderful opportunity to clear and be like, okay, I want flow, so I have less, or I want these symbols of things that, that mean something to me, where the vibration of those are important. And I think I go back to that same image, which is sitting with me quite strongly, is the idea of where our head rests at night and what are we next to? And are we next to our phone? Are we next to the plug? What are we next to? And for me, I think, do you know the bit that's missing for me is I need a plant next to me, like on my bedside. That's what I need. That's the energy of what's needed. And it is possible for us to do that, to create spaces which are more energetically on our terms, but it does mean that we need to go through a process to do that. It's not as easy as going, right, okay, tomorrow I'm going to feel completely differently, because shifts also take time, and it's having trust in them. And it reminds me of when I work with clients and we've done a session where we've released, and that release could be around relationships, or it could be around even like a headache, or what are the symptoms causing the headache. I always say during process days, try and avoid anything toxic or anything negative, because you want to fill that space with love. And when you talk about love is the highest vibration. There's so much of it around, and we want to fill those spaces with more of that love. And so we see that in so many ways in which in which we do work and what our intention is. And I do think that people who are working on themselves at the moment, it is being driven by love.
Absolutely, it is, because they can feel it. People are choosing more now they're adjusting their feet. So by releasing what is old and creating, you're adjusting your grounding on the earth, because you can begin again at this point. You know, we've talked about obviously other crystals and things as well, but the practical things, again, going back to the plants, is lovely in the bedroom. It helps to cleanse the air. You pick and choose the right ones for you that match your energetic frequency, but also ones that are calming, and there's the right thing in the right place, we say.
Absolutely.
So that's crystals and everything else. Yeah. So
and
plants, and you can put shungite in the bedroom or nearer to. So a lot of people have these watches, like Apple Watches and things like that. Take them out, pop them in the bedroom, or have a piece of shungite next to a plug socket, like you say, so it adjusts it. Our bodies are fantastic things, and as the transformation has happened and your expansion happens and is constantly happening, our bodies have adjusted to 5G, and you know we are able to do that, like you say, but it's a slow process. It's a slow energetic process, and our crystals are there to help us adjust to that. And different elemental signs, like for example earth signs, are more attuned, not necessarily more, but can be more attuned, and it find the easier transition for the help and support of crystals and their frequency to adjust to as well. So I'd say, you know, stick with it, but don't forget to cleanse them as well, obviously, because they're going to be working all the time.
And I think some of what you're saying is so important, because intensity doesn't mean something is wrong. Just because we're feeling really intense, or we're feeling really as if these symptoms that are coming up in our body, everything's feeling very intense, it just means that there's a calling for you to do some work around that space. Sometimes that can be the case, and discomfort often signals that things are aligning, that things are changing. And I think with some of these, you know, when you talk about plants and you talk about crystals and clearing your space and, you know, allowing energy to flow, these are all things that, as you align, you feel the vibration of those even stronger. And it's such a wonderful thing. And what I will do, actually, because you've mentioned so many things, is that I will below put some link to some of these things, or a kind of sheet, so that people can look for these and look up some of these crystals and what plants work best.
Absolutely. Yes, yeah. And you know, there is so much out there, so many tools that we can use to help ourselves, you know, essential oils, aura sprays. There are so many fantastic products on the market being made by so many fantastic people. At the moment is where I'm adjusting, because you'll see so many people adjusting. People know in their hearts through love what sort of life they want to live, and we are beginning to remember the purpose of why we're here, and that in yourself starts to feel comfortable. We have to go through a bit of discomfort to adjust and get rid of that, to find that comfort. Yes, we do, which is what we're saying, to sit with it, you know, be brave, be strong in order to do that. But remember, just like the weather, it really does, the energy really does adjust with weather. If you have a storm, if we have rain is cleansing, it's beautiful, it's lovely, you know, it's cleansing, it's getting rid of the old. Like we have a shower, it's really wonderful to sometimes stand out in the rain, to walk in the rain, to be outside in the trees in the rain. It is lovely to be able to feel that cleansing process of nature. And then the summer comes, the sun always comes out, and it always does, and it always feels better when it does, and it always regenerates and strengthens when it does too, and it brings everything to its best pinnacle point. Flowers bloom, you see the world in a completely different way because of what, you know, the sunshine does for you.
I agree, and I think what you're talking about there is so important about grounding, isn't it? And how important grounding is. And I think as the shifts happen and we start to release, if we don't remain grounded and we don't do some of the things you've just mentioned, we can end up feeling quite disconnected. Some of the ways in which we can think about to anchor people so they don't feel grounded while we're going through these great shifts and we're going through these releases. And some of that could be like a simple grounding practice. And I feel, Sharon, like what you've mentioned about being outside, you know, allowing yourself to feel the rain, or walking outside, or being around trees, having a plant next to you, having the right crystal, connecting with how you feel is a really good grounding practice.
It is, yeah, absolutely. Is and to remember to sometimes the least amount you want to go outside, you know, and you really have to motivate yourself to go outside, is the more you need to do it. You know, your body is craving it. You know, you get to a point where you just think, oh, I just want to, but it will make you feel better. It will. Even if you just stand outside for a few minutes, you know, a few minutes, and you're in the rain and you're feeling better, or you're in the sunshine, or it's just outside and it's windy. You know, there is something to be said when they say blowing the cobwebs away on a windy day. You know, you will feel that extra expansion in your energy, because automatically you go out, you're grounded, your body, that's what it's meant to do. You know, it will automatically do it for you, and it will release more out of, you know, because your environment is less confined. So outside you have all that space, you have all the energy, you're outside and you're able to be should say cleansed and refreshed and ready for you to your expansion to be able to happen easier, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a completely natural process, and when you're indoors, I think amongst all this, you know, that's why it's so important to help clear that space inside, you know, because you're essentially trying to make being outside, you know.
Yeah, and I think with the lives we live now, we're inside a lot more anyway, because of the way we work now, the way things have changed. Our lives are much more in the home than they've ever been. And I think one of kind of a question, or a reflective question to ourselves, is when we're thinking about clearing or shedding or clearing our space, is when we're with something, whether it is an item of clothing, or whether it is, you know, a picture or a piece of, you know, crockery even in our house, whatever it is, it's holding something close to us and recognizing what shifts within me when I hold this. Do I feel better, or has something triggered a memory or made me uncomfortable? If it does, then just let go. We don't have to hold on to anything. We're creating new energetic spaces. And that's something I would really encourage all of us to do. I think over the next few days, I think as we, or over time, we can really think about our own healing in a deeper way. And there's lots of ways, you know, of course, anyone can reach out to us as well in terms of how we can support with that. But for me, my final thoughts would be around allowing ourselves to let go of what doesn't need to be held anymore.
Absolutely, yes, yeah, I'd be in total agreement with that. Is to what we think we're holding on to as you know, special memories, or an item that is a special memory. That memory is in your heart, you know. That memory is here, you know, and that's not to say that, you know, everything that, if you feel that everything that, you know, has that sentimental value then needs to go, but it does hold energy and it does hold weight. So yeah, just think about it, go through that process, hold it, see how it feels. And there's it's going to be a thing, but the television program, Stacey Solomon's, you know, where she does the house clearing thing as well, she does some fantastic work on that program. They all do, that whole team, and they help people through huge traumas that they've been through, connected with loss, and all sorts of different issues and health issues in that program with individuals. And it's not done lightly, but that's exactly what she's doing. She's helping people to create space within your home in order to do that. Because if your space becomes compounded, you become compounded, you know. So yes, yeah, create that space and don't put that pressure on yourself. You know, remember to love yourself.
Inner homes and our outer homes both matter, don't we? And you started off by talking about how what's happening within is also reflecting of what's happening largely on the outside, whether that's we're talking about the universe or we're talking about bigger events that are happening in the world, but also we go back to what's happening here. And I like the way what we've drawn out, actually something that's come out, is actually what's happening within ourselves is really important to how we seal our space around us as well. And if we're largely in our homes a lot, then we want to kind of create the space that reflects the work that's going on within too. And that's really wonderful and really positive way in which we can anchor ourselves. What I am going to do is make sure that I've got lots of links below to both of us, but also to the things that have been mentioned today, and so that anyone who's listening who wants to look further into some of the things we've mentioned can do so. And Sharon, I'm going to thank you so much for talking with me today about this. It's been such an interesting conversation. I genuinely look forward to the next. Thank you.
Me too. It's been lovely. Thank you for asking me. Take care, Samreen. Thank you. Much love.